The signal came from a planet that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. Lieutenant Perrin Vale's crystalline memory slate hummed against his palm. The throne chamber of Kethran Station stretched before him, 400 seats carved from asteroid iron, every surface etched with the names of 312 conquered worlds. The air smelled of old ozone and ceremonial resin, recycled for 8,000 years. He had recorded 2,100 decrees. He had never recorded a mistake. Today, he would record the last one his civilization would believe. High Arbiter Zoran Keth stood at the chamber's center, his neutron thread mantle weighing heavy on shoulders that had not moved in 190 years. His honor scars clicked as he shifted. The bioluminescent throat pouch beneath his jaw flared red. "The humans have one ship in the gray margin," Keth said. His voice filled the chamber like poured stone. "One. We have 1,600. The arithmetic is not complicated." Vale pressed record. The slate caught every syllable. He did not look at the highest tier where Ambassador Illis of the Silan sat, her translucent skin dimmed to near invisibility. She had not spoken in 900 years. Today her light flickered. War Master Vorak laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. "The humans have not attended a conclave function in 47 years, he said. "They are unregistered noise, a clerical error with hull plating." Keth's obsidian eyes, set too wide in his skull, swept the chamber. "Then we correct the error. Issue the annexation. The gray margin is ascendancy territory. Effective immediately." Vale's secondary eyelids fluttered. He suppressed the reflex by age 12. He did not suppress it now. "I wish I could tell you it ended there. It didn't. Stay close." 3 days earlier, Station Meridian 7 smelled of ozone and dried algae. The corridors were narrow, the gravity set to 0.7 g, and the walls were plain metal without a single conquered name carved into them. Admiral Rin Calder sat on the bridge of the Resolute Asterisk, drinking water from a metal canteen. She did not spill a drop when the message arrived. Her right hand held the canteen steady. Her right index finger was missing below the first knuckle, lost in a docking accident she had never mentioned. The stump tapped against her thigh, silent, counting. Captain Joss Merrick stood at the tactical station, his jacket patched at the elbow. He had tracked Drakkar fleet movements for 17 years with the precision of a man who had nothing else to do. "The ascendancy is moving," he said. 1,600 ships, parade formation. They'll reach the gray margin in 72 hours. Calder set the canteen down. Beside it on the armrest sat a wind-up chronometer, brass casing, dented on one side. Its internal gears were audible in the silence of the bridge. Tick, tick, tick. "How many do they think we have?" she asked. "Their archive lists 12. Merrick looked at her. She did not look at the chronometer. She did not need to. "And the actual count?" 89, Admiral, all of them in the hollow belt. The file says decommissioned." Calder's stump stopped tapping. She leaned forward. The chronometer ticked once more. "Then the file was wrong," she said. "Wake them." Merrick's hand moved to the comms array. He paused. "The Drakkar expect broadcast, challenge codes. They expect us to answer." "They expect noise," Calder said. "We will give them silence." She reached for the carafe at the table's edge and poured a half cup of water she did not drink. Then she touched the panel, and the fleet-wide wake signal went out on a frequency no Drakkar sensor had ever registered. Kethran Station, the throne chamber. Vale stood at his station, the crystalline slate still humming, still recording. The annexation decree had been issued. The fleet had jumped. The arithmetic was simple. So why did the air feel wrong? He looked at the tactical display mounted on the chamber's far wall. 1,600 ships in parade formation, green icons moving through the gray margin like a wave through still water. No resistance, no response. The humans had one ship. One. Ambassador Illis stirred in the highest tier. Her bioluminescence pulsed. a single soft beat. Vale had never seen her move during a decree. "Something troubles you, Ambassador?" Vorik asked. His honor scars clicked with amusement. Illis's voice was the sound of water moving through deep stone. "I have watched the ascendancy for 4,100 years," she said. "I have seen 312 worlds added to those walls. I have never seen a species that asked for nothing, attend nothing and build nothing, for 300 years. They build nothing because they are nothing," Keth said. His throat pouch flared. "The conclave permits their existence. That is generosity enough." Illis did not answer. Her light dimmed again, but Vale noticed she did not close her eyes. She watched the display. The 1,600 green icons continued their advance. The gray margin was 3 light-years wide, officially unregistered, a buffer zone between ascendancy space and the hollow nothing beyond. The humans had lived there for 300 years, never invited to the throne chamber, never consulted on border disputes. They were permitted. That was the word the archive used. Permitted. Vale checked his slate. The decree was logged. The annexation was official. In 48 hours, the gray margin would be ascendancy territory in fact as well as name. The humans would be reclassified. Administrative relocation. The same phrase used for the colony at Varn 47 years ago. He had been 12 when Varn happened, too young to serve, old enough to remember the silence that followed. No human protest, no conclave objection, just a file update and a new line in the archive. The chronometer on Admiral Calder's bridge ticked, tick, tick, tick. She did not look at it. The hollow belt lay behind the ice moon Varn, a cluster of shipyards built in the shadow of a dead colony. The resolute asterisk drifted there now, hull dark, emissions flat, a hole in space that happened to have mass. Around it, 88 other vessels hung in similar silence. Nullskin plating absorbed every signature. No heat, no drive plume, no challenge codes. Merrick moved through the tactical display, his patched elbow catching the pale light. "The Drakkar fleet will enter the margin in 18 hours, he said. "They're broadcasting on every frequency. Ritual challenge codes. They expect panic." "They expect noise," Calder said again. She stood at the viewport looking at nothing. The ice moon Varn turned slowly beyond the glass, its surface still scarred from the reclassification. Her grandfather had mapped the first routes through the gray margin. He had died at Varn. The Drakkar recorded his death as administrative relocation. The file was stamped by Zoran Keth's predecessor. She tapped her thigh 3 times, then stopped. "Admiral," Merrick said. "Vorik is laughing. The conclave is watching. If we do nothing, they take the margin. If we answer, they crush us. 1,600 to 89. Calder turned. The chronometer sat on the armrest, ticking. "You measured our strength by what you could see," she said, not to Merrick, to no one. A sentence she had practiced for 29 years. That was their first error. Merrick waited. She did not explain. "Position the fleet," she said. "Sphere formation. Synchronized silent running, no decloak until my order. No broadcast, no challenge codes." "And if they fire first?" Calder looked at the chronometer. It had been ticking for 47 years. It would tick for 47 more. "Then they will learn what silence means," she said. Kethran Station, 6 hours after the decree. Vale stood at his station, the slate still recording, though there was nothing left to record. The throne chamber had emptied. The 400 seats were vacant. Only Keth remained on his throne, motionless, his neutron thread mantle a dead weight. Vale checked the tactical display. The 1,600 green icons had reached the gray margin. They broadcast challenge codes on every frequency. They expected panic. They received silence. He looked at the slate. The last words recorded were Keth's. "The humans have 1 ship." Vale's secondary eyelids fluttered. He did not suppress them. The air in the chamber smelled different now. Not of resin, of nothing. The recycled air of 8,000 years had never smelled like nothing before. He looked at the highest tier. Illis was gone. Her seat was empty, her bioluminescence extinguished, but on the armrest she had left something, a small object, round, metal. Vale climbed the tier steps, his honor scars clicking against the iron. He picked up the object, a wind-up chronometer, brass casing, dented on one side, its gears were silent. He turned it over. On the back, scratched into the metal, were words in a language he did not recognize, but he knew the shape of them. Human script. He had seen it in the archive files. The files stamped decommissioned. Vale held the chronometer to his ear. Nothing, no tick, no gear turn, just silence. He looked at the tactical display. 1,600 green icons. One human ship, according to the archive. The arithmetic was simple. The chronometer was warm, as if someone had held it recently. Vale's secondary eyelids fluttered again. He did not suppress them. He stood in the highest tier of the throne chamber, holding a silent chronometer, watching 1,600 ships broadcast challenge codes into a silence that had lasted 47 years. And somewhere in the gray margin, 89 vessels waited. Calder sat on the bridge of the Resolute Asterisk. The chronometer ticked on the armrest beside her. Tick, 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 the only sound for 12 seconds. Merrick's voice came through the comms, flat and precise. All 88 vessels report ready. Nullskin active. Emissions flat. The Drakkar sensors are blind to us. And their fleet. Parade formation. Broadcasting on every frequency. They think we're one ship, Admiral. They think we're running. Calder tapped her thigh, once, twice. The stump of her finger, counting something only she understood. Good, she said, let them think it. She reached for the carafe and poured another half cup of water. She did not drink it. She set it on the console beside the chronometer. The water trembled, not from her hand, from something else. The fleet around them, 88 vessels adjusting position in perfect synchronization, their nullskin hulls sliding through the dark like sharks beneath black ice. Admiral, Merrick said, Warmaster Vorek is on an open channel. He's demanding response. Challenge codes, he's laughing. Calder looked at the chronometer. 47 years, her grandfather's roots, the colony at Varn, the file stamped decommissioned, the word permitted. Record this, she said. Merrick's hand moved to the log. Ready. Calder leaned toward the comms array. Her missing finger hovered above the console. The chronometer ticked. She did not raise her voice. She did not broadcast. She spoke to the empty channel, to the silence, to the 1,600 ships that could not hear her yet. You measured our strength by what you could see, she said. That was your first error. You assumed silence meant absence. That was your second. She paused. The chronometer ticked. There will not be a third. She did not close the channel. She left it open. She sat back. The chronometer ticked. Tick, tick, tick. Merrick stared at her. Admiral, they can't hear you. We're still cloaked. They don't know we're here. Calder smiled. It was the first time in 11 years. They will, she said. In 47 seconds they will. She reached for the panel. Her stump hovered over the decloak switch. The chronometer ticked. The water in the cup trembled. 89 vessels waited in the silence of the hollow belt, behind the ice moon Varn, in the shadow of a dead colony. Calder's finger came down. The bridge of the Asterisk Resolute did not light up. No alarm sounded. The decloak was a whisper in a vacuum. 89 hulls shedding their nullskin camouflage in perfect synchronization, each vessel appearing as a black absence against the deeper black of the gray margin. On Kethran Station, Vale watched the tactical display. One moment, 1,600 green icons advanced through empty space. The next, 89 new contacts bloomed around them in a sphere so precise it looked like a diagram from a manual. No heat signatures, no drive plumes, no challenge codes, just hulls, black, angular, silent. Vale's hand tightened on the chronometer. It was still warm. "Recalibrate," Vorik said. His voice cracked like breaking glass. "Recalibrate the sensors now." The tactical officer at the lower tier fumbled with his console. "Warmaster, the sensors are functioning. The contacts are real. Mass readings confirm. 80, he stopped. His secondary eyelids fluttered. 89 vessels in a sphere formation around us. Keth stood from his throne. The neutron thread mantle shifted, and for the first time in 190 years, the High Arbiter moved with speed. His honor scars clicked in a staccato rhythm. "Impossible," he said. "The archive lists one ship." "The archive was wrong," Vale said. Every head in the chamber turned. Vale had not spoken in 2,100 decrees. He had never spoken during a session. His voice was small against the stone acoustics, but it carried. Keth's obsidian eyes fixed on him. "Explain." Vale held up the chronometer. Ambassador Illis left this in the highest tier before she left. He turned it over. The human script scratched into the brass caught the chamber light. She knew. She has watched the ascendancy for 4,100 years. She has seen 312 worlds added to those walls. She left this because she knew the 313th would not be a world. It would be a lesson. The tactical display chirped. A new contact appeared at the sphere's center, larger than the others. Its transponder, for the first time, broadcast a single word: resolute asterisk. Calder did not look at the viewport. She looked at the chronometer. Tick, tick, tick. "Sphere integrity?" she asked. "Perfect," Merrick said. His voice had changed. It was thinner now, stripped of the irony that usually lived in it. "The Drakkar are broadcasting challenge codes on every frequency. They're demanding we answer. He paused. "They're recalibrating their sensors. They think we're ghosts." "Ghosts don't cast shadows," Calder said. She tapped her thigh 3 times. "Captain, execute pattern Korath." Merrick's hand froze above the console. "Admiral, that's Drakkar doctrine. The same formation Vorik used at the Battle of Korath, 80 years ago. They'll recognize it." "They will," Calder said. "They won't counter it." "They can't." "Why?" "Because they wrote it," Calder said. "And they never wrote the chapter on what happens when the enemy uses your own strategy without the ritual that precedes it." Merrick's fingers moved. The 89 vessels shifted. Not fast. Not dramatically. A slow, deliberate rearrangement that mirrored the Drakkar's most celebrated victory, but stripped of the broadcast warnings, the challenge codes, the honor scar clicking that announced intent before action. The Resolute turned. The chronometer ticked. "Admiral," Merrick said, "they're firing." The first neutron lance struck empty space. The Drakkar flagship Unbroken had fired at the center of the sphere, where the largest contact sat. But the Resolute was no longer there. It had shifted 400 meters in the 1.2 seconds between targeting and discharge. A maneuver no Drakkar simulation included, because no Drakkar ship could execute it without broadcasting its intention. Vale watched the display from the highest tier. The 1,600 green icons were shrinking, not disappearing, being compressed. The sphere was tightening like a fist. "Warmaster," the tactical officer said, "the reserve fleet, at the Lagrange point, there." "I see them," Vorik said, but he didn't. His eyes were fixed on the center of the display, where the Resolute asterisk drifted like a dark star. "I see them." 14 new contacts had appeared behind the reserve fleet. They had not decloaked. They had simply been there, silent, waiting, while the main force focused on the sphere. Now they moved. No broadcast. No warning. Kinetic kill vehicles launched from their bays, no drive signature, no heat, just mass and velocity and the mathematics of collision. The first reserve ship lost propulsion at minute 7. By minute 9, 3 more drifted dead. By minute 11, the flagship Unbroken lost main propulsion. Vale looked at the chronometer in his hand. It was still silent, But on the tactical display he could see the Resolute now. Its bridge was dark. Only the tactical display glowed, painting Calder's face in pale blue. The chronometer ticked beside her. He could not hear it, but he could see her looking at it. She leaned toward the comms array. Her missing finger hovered above the console. Her voice was flat, measured. The voice of someone who had practiced this sentence for 29 years. You measured our strength by what you could see. That was your first error. You assumed silence meant absence. That was your second. There will not be a third. She did not wait for a response. She closed the channel. The chronometer ticked. The bridge was silent for 11 seconds. Then Merrick said, "Ma'am, the Drakkar Reserve is withdrawing." Calder looked at the chronometer. "Let them," she said. "We have waited 47 years. A few more minutes won't matter." Kethran Station, the throne chamber. The air did not smell of resin anymore. It smelled of nothing. Vale stood at his station, the slate still recording, though there was nothing left to record. The 1,600 green icons had become something else. 312 remained combat effective. The rest were damaged, captured, or adrift. The gray margin was no longer unregistered. It was something worse. It was known. Keth sat on his throne. His neutron thread mantle was motionless. His honor scars did not click. For 6 hours he had not spoken. Vale had checked the record. The last words on the crystalline slate were, "The humans have one ship." Vale looked at the chronometer in his hand. He turned it over. The human script on the back was not a message. It was a name. He could read it now in the silence of the chamber, with the tactical display painting his face in pale blue. Varn. He had been 12 when Varn happened, too young to serve, old enough to remember the silence. The file update, the new line in the archive. Administrative relocation. The chronometer was warm because someone had held it recently. Someone who had known what would happen. Someone who had watched the ascendancy for 4,100 years and had finally seen something she had never seen before. A species that did not posture. Vale climbed down from the highest tier. His footsteps echoed in the empty chamber. He stopped at the throne. Keth did not look at him. The High Arbiter's obsidian eyes were fixed on the wall, on the names of 312 conquered worlds, on the space where the 313th would never be carved. "High Arbiter," Vale said, "Ambassador Illis asked me to give you a message." Keth did not move. She said, "The oldest species in the conclave has watched 8,400 years of arithmetic. Today the math changed." Keth's throat pouch flared once a dull red, then it dimmed. He did not speak. Vale walked to the chamber's exit. He stopped at the threshold. He looked back at the tactical display, at the 89 contacts that had become a sphere, at the asterisk Resolute at its center, at the dark that was not empty. He held the chronometer to his ear, still silent, but now in the silence he thought he could hear something, not gears, not ticking, something older, the sound of water moving through deep stone. He left the chamber. The slate was still recording. It would record for 6 more hours until the power cells died, capturing the sound of a throne that had not been empty in 8,400 years and was empty now. Station Meridian 7, 3 days later. The corridors still smelled of ozone and dried algae. The gravity was still 0.7 g, the walls were still plain metal, but the air was different. It was the air of a place that had stopped waiting. Calder sat on the bridge of the Resolute asterisk. The chronometer ticked on the armrest beside her. She held it to her ear. It was still ticking. She smiled. The first time in 11 years. "Admiral," Merrick said. He stood at the tactical station, his jacket still patched at the elbow. "Ambassador Illis has arrived. She's asking to see you." Calder set the chronometer down. She did not look at it. She did not need to. Show her in. Illis entered the bridge. Her translucent skin caught the pale light of the tactical display, and fractured it into colors that had no names in human language. She was 0.8 meters tall, no skeletal structure, held upright by hydrostatic pressure. Her bioluminescence was dimmed to near invisibility, but in the quiet of the bridge it pulsed softly. "I have watched the ascendancy for 4,100 years," she said. Her voice was the sound of water moving through deep stone. "I have never seen a species that asked for nothing, attend nothing, and build nothing for 300 years, until I realized you were building something after all." Calder stood. Her right hand hung at her side, the missing finger hidden in the shadow of her thigh. "What did you think we were building?" Illis's light flickered. "Patience," she said, "the most dangerous weapon in the conclave, and I wanted to know why 47 years, why not 46, why not 50? Calder reached for the chronometer. She held it up. The brass casing caught the light. The dent on one side was old, older than her command, older than her commission. "Because 46 years ago," she said, "we decided that the next time someone looked at us and saw nothing, we would make sure they remembered what they saw." Illis looked at the chronometer. "Your grandfather's." He mapped the first routes through the gray margin. He died at Varn. The Drakkar recorded his death as administrative relocation. The file was stamped by Zoran Keth's predecessor. "And the chronometer?" "He gave it to me before he left. He said, 'Time is the only weapon they can't see.'" Illis was silent. Then she said, "The Drakkar will write 900 pages explaining what happened. They will blame censors. They will blame doctrine. They will blame the archive. They will never blame their own eyes." Calder turned the chronometer over. She set it on the armrest. "Tick, tick, tick." "Let them write," she said. "I wrote 12 words in a logbook and closed it." Illis's bioluminescence brightened just for a moment, a pulse of color that might have been approval or warning. "The Ascendancy has reduced its fleet presence in the outer rim by 40%. The file on the Hollow Fleet is reclassified from decommissioned to unknown. Nobody corrects it." "Good," Calder said. "They will come back," Illis said. "Not today, not tomorrow, but they will come back. They are 8,400 years old. They do not forget. They do not forgive. They only wait." Calder smiled again. "So do we." Illis turned to leave. She stopped at the bridge's threshold. "Admiral, one question, the 89 vessels, the 77 that were hidden, the file that was wrong. How did you know they would never check?" Calder looked at the chronometer. It had been ticking for 47 years. It would tick for 47 more. "Because," she said, "they measured our strength by what they could see, and we made sure they saw nothing." Illis left. The bridge was quiet. Merrick stood at his station, his patched elbow catching the light. He did not speak. There was nothing to say. Calder sat. She picked up the chronometer. She held it to her ear. Tick, tick, tick. The rhythm of a debt coming due. The sound of 47 years of silence broken by a single finger on a switch. She wrote in the logbook 12 words. She closed it. Outside, the gray margin turned. The ice moon Varn drifted in its slow orbit. The hollow belt hung in the shadow, 89 vessels dark and silent, waiting for the next time someone looked at them and saw nothing. The chronometer ticked. The cell was 3 meters by 2, cut from the same asteroid iron as the throne chamber. Vale sat on a bench that was not a bench, just a ledge carved into the wall. The crystalline slate sat on the floor beside him, still recording, its power cells down to the last red bar. He had played the annexation decree back 47 times. Each time, the words sounded smaller. "The humans have one ship." He had not been allowed to keep the chronometer. A security officer had taken it at the chamber door, turning it over in his four-fingered hands, reading the name scratched into the brass. Varn. The officer had not spoken. He had simply walked away with it. Now Vale sat in the dark, listening to the recycled air hiss through vents that had not been cleaned in 8,000 years. His secondary eyelids fluttered. He did not suppress them. He had not suppressed them in 6 days. The cell door opened. War Master Vorak filled the frame, his honor scars clicking against the iron jamb. He did not enter. He stood there, 156 years of campaigns written in calcified scars, and looked at Vale with eyes that had stopped laughing. "You recorded everything," Vorak said. "It was not a question." "Yes." "Play it." Vale picked up the slate. The red bar pulsed. He pressed the reverse key. The annexation decree played backward, Keth's voice unwinding like a tape. Then he stopped it. Forward. The moment the 89 contacts appeared. The moment the sphere tightened. The moment Calder's voice filled the channel. "You measured our strength by what you could see." Vorak's honor scars stopped clicking. He reached into his mantle and withdrew something. He set it on the ledge beside Vale. The chronometer, brass casing, dented, silent. "High Arbiter Keth is gone," Vorak said. "Gone." "He left Kethran Station 6 hours ago. He took a shuttle. He did not file a flight plan. He did not take his mantle. He has not been seen since." Vale looked at the chronometer, then at Vorak. "The Ascendancy has never had a High Arbiter leave the station." "Until today," Vorak said. His voice was different, not broken, not angry, something worse, empty. "He left this in the throne under the cushion. He wanted you to have it." Vale picked up the chronometer. He turned it over. The name Varn stared back at him, but now scratched beneath it in Keth's own hand were new words, not human script. Drakkar, a single sentence. The arithmetic was not complicated. The arithmetic was wrong. Vorak turned to leave. He stopped at the door. "Lieutenant, the conclave meets in 72 hours. The Silan have called for a vote. They want to recognize the gray margin as sovereign human territory. The Ascendancy will oppose it. We have 1,200 ships remaining. We can still..." "Can still what?" Vale asked. "Broadcast challenge codes into silence." Vorak did not answer. He left. The door closed. Vale sat in the dark, holding a chronometer that did not tick, reading a sentence written by a High Arbiter who had measured 8,400 years of permanence and had finally seen something that did not add up. He held the chronometer to his ear, still silent. But now in the silence he heard something else. Not gears, not water through stone, something new, a question. It had no shape yet, but it was forming. Why had Keth left, and where had he gone? Calder stood at the viewport of Station Meridian 7, looking at the gray margin. The Resolute was docked beyond the glass, its hull still scarred from the maneuver. The chronometer ticked in her pocket. She had moved it from the armrest. She did not know why. "Admiral," Merrick said. He stood in the corridor doorway, his jacket patched at the elbow, a data tablet in his hand. "The conclave vote, it's scheduled. The Silan are pushing for recognition. The Drakkar are pushing for war." "And the other species?" "Waiting," Merrick said. "Watching. They want to know what you'll do next." Calder did not turn. "What did I do last?" "You won." "Did I?" She tapped her thigh 3 times. "Winning is when they stop looking. We decloaked. We spoke. Now they see us. That is not winning. That is exposure." Merrick stepped onto the bridge. He set the tablet down. "Then why did you do it?" Calder reached into her pocket. She withdrew the chronometer. She held it in her palm, the brass warm against her skin. "Because 46 years ago someone looked at my grandfather and saw nothing. Because 47 years ago someone stamped a file that said decommissioned. Because for 300 years we were permitted. We were noise. We were arithmetic that did not matter." She turned. "And because one day someone would come who did not understand that silence is not absence. That day came. I answered." Merrick looked at the chronometer. "Your grandfather's." He mapped the first routes. He died at Varn. The Drakkar recorded it as administrative relocation. The file was stamped by Keth's predecessor. She paused. "I was 12. I watched the update come through. No protest, no question, just a new line in the archive. I decided that day." The next time someone looked at us and saw nothing, I would make sure they remembered. And the 89 vessels. Built in the hollow belt, officially scrapped. The file said decommissioned. Nobody checked. Why would they? We were noise. We were permitted. She smiled. The most devastating weapon is not a ship. It is a file stamped with a lie that nobody bothers to verify. Merrick was quiet. Then he said, "The conclave vote. If they recognize the margin, the Drakkar will declare war. If they don't, the Drakkar will annex it anyway. Either way, we fight again." "Then we fight again," Calder said. She put the chronometer back in her pocket. "But not today. Today we wait." "More waiting." "More waiting," she said. "The 89 vessels are still out there, still silent, still cloaked. The Drakkar think they know our strength. They saw 89. They did not see the ones we did not build." Merrick's hand froze on the tablet. "Admiral." Calder turned to the viewport. The ice moon Varn turned slowly beyond the glass, its surface still scarred. "The hollow belt was not the only shipyard," she said. "There are others, deeper, older. The file says decommissioned. The file is still wrong." She tapped her thigh, once, twice, 3 times. "But this time," she said, "we will not need to decloak. This time they will look for us, and they will find exactly what we want them to find." Merrick stared at her. "How many?" Calder did not answer. She looked at the chronometer in her pocket. Tick, 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 the sound of a debt coming due. The sound of 47 years of silence, broken once, and now rebuilding. "Enough," she said. Vale sat in the debriefing cell, the chronometer in his hand, Keth's sentence scratched beneath the name Varn. He had read it 47 times. Each time it sounded different. The arithmetic was not complicated. The arithmetic was wrong. The cell door opened again. This time it was not Vorak. It was Ambassador Illis. Her translucent skin caught the cell's single light and turned it into something that moved. She was 0.8 meters tall, held upright by hydrostatic pressure, and she carried no gift. She never carried gifts. "Lieutenant," she said. Her voice was the sound of water moving through deep stone. "I have watched the ascendancy for 4,100 years. I have seen 312 worlds added to those walls. I have seen high arbiters die. I have seen them conquered. I have never seen one leave." "Where did he go?" Vale asked. Illis's bioluminescence pulsed. "The gray margin," she said. "He took a shuttle, no escort, no broadcast. He flew toward the ice moon Varn, toward the hollow belt, toward the silence." Vale stood. The chronometer fell from his hand, hit the floor with a sound that was not a tick, just a dull metal ring. "He's going to Calder." "He is going to learn," Illis said. "The same lesson you are learning. The same lesson the ascendancy will learn, whether it survives or not." She paused. "Power that does not announce itself is invisible to civilizations that measure strength in noise. Keth measured strength in noise for 287 years. Today, he is trying to learn a new measurement." Vale picked up the chronometer. He held it to his ear, still silent. But now in the silence he heard the question again. It had a shape now. It was not about Keth. It was about himself. "What do I do?" he asked. Illis turned to leave. At the door, she stopped. "You have a crystalline slate," she said. "You have recorded 2,101 decrees. One of them was the last day your civilization believed arithmetic was enough. What will the 2,102nd be?" She left. The door closed. Vale sat in the dark, holding a silent chronometer, listening to a question that had no answer yet. He looked at the slate. The red bar was almost gone. He pressed record. He held the chronometer to the microphone. He spoke. "This is Lieutenant Perrin Vale," he said. "Former aide to War Master Vorak, former recorder of the throne chamber. The following is a statement of fact. The Drakkar Ascendancy lists 12 human vessels in the gray margin. The actual count is 89. The other 77 were built in the Hollow Belt and officially decommissioned 47 years ago. The file said decommissioned. The file was wrong. He paused. The chronometer was silent in his hand, but he could feel it, the weight of it, the warmth, the question. "I am leaving Kethran Station," he said. "I am going to the gray margin. I am going to learn what silence means. This recording will be found in the throne chamber beside the slate of the last decree. Let whoever finds it understand. The arithmetic was not complicated. The arithmetic was wrong. And the math is still changing." He stopped recording. He set the slate on the floor. He stood. He walked to the door. It was locked. He did not care. He had spent 34 years recording other people's words. Today he would write his own. He kicked the door. Once, twice, 3 times, the iron rang. The chronometer in his hand did not tick, but it was warm, and in the warmth he thought he could hear something. Not gears, not water, not a question. A heartbeat. Calder stood at the viewport. The Resolute was still docked. The Ice Moon Varn still turned. But now on the tactical display behind her a new contact had appeared. A single shuttle, no transponder, no broadcast, no challenge codes. Just a hull, black and angular, moving through the gray margin toward Station Meridian 7. Admiral Merrick said. His voice was flat. "It's him, Keth, the High Arbiter. He's alone, no escort, no weapons." Calder did not turn. She reached into her pocket. She withdrew the chronometer. She held it to her ear. Tick, tick, tick. "Open the docking bay," she said. "Admiral, he's the enemy. He declared annexation. He sent 1,600 ships. And now he sends himself," Calder said. "One ship, one. The arithmetic is not complicated." She smiled, the second time in 11 years. "Let him learn," she said. "Let him learn what one ship means when it does not broadcast." Keth's shuttle docked at Meridian 7 with a sound that was not a sound. No klaxon, no announcement. Just metal meeting metal, a whisper in the dark, and then silence. Calder stood in the docking bay. She had not brought guards. She had not brought weapons. She had brought the chronometer. It ticked in her pocket. Tick, tick, tick. The airlock cycled. The door opened. Zoran Keth stepped through. He was smaller without his mantle, without the neutron thread that weighed 8 kilograms, without the honor scars catching the chamber light. He was just a tall figure in a plain flight suit, his bioluminescent throat pouch dimmed to a dull gray. He had not clicked in 6 hours. He had not spoken in 6 hours. He looked at Calder with obsidian eyes set too wide, and he did not know what to say. Calder did not speak either. She reached into her pocket. She withdrew the chronometer. She held it in her palm. The brass caught the docking bay's single light. The dent on one side faced Keth. "You left this," she said. Keth looked at the chronometer. He looked at the name scratched into the back. Varn. He looked at his own words beneath it. The arithmetic was not complicated. The arithmetic was wrong. "I measured your strength by what I could see," he said. His voice was not the voice of poured stone. It was smaller, dry. "That was my first error." Calder waited. "I assumed silence meant absence," he said. "That was my second." She still did not speak. She held the chronometer. It ticked. "Is there a third?" Keth asked. Calder smiled, the third time in 11 years. "There will not be a third," she said. "Not from you, not from anyone." She turned the chronometer over. She wound it. The gears caught. The tick grew louder. Tick, tick, tick. In the silence of the docking bay, it was the only sound. "You came alone," she said. "No escort, no broadcast, no challenge codes." "I came to learn," Keth said. "Then learn this," Calder said. She held the chronometer to her ear. "This was my grandfather's. He mapped the first routes through the gray margin. He died at Varn. Your predecessor stamped the file. Administrative relocation. The file said decommissioned. The file was wrong." Keth's throat pouch flared once a dull red, then it dimmed. "I know." "Do you?" Calder asked. "Do you know what it means to watch a file update and know that a life has become a line? Do you know what it means to be 12 years old and decide that the next time someone looks at you and sees nothing, you will make sure they remember." Keth did not answer. He looked at the chronometer. He looked at her missing finger. He looked at the docking bay's plain walls without a single conquered name carved into them. "I sat on a throne for 190 years, he said. "I never left Kethran Station. I issued 2,101 decrees. I added 312 worlds to those walls. I never once asked what the walls meant. I only asked if the arithmetic was correct." He reached into his flight suit. He withdrew something, a data chip. He held it out. "The conclave vote," he said. "It happens in 48 hours. The Silan have called for recognition. The Ascendancy will oppose it, but I will not speak. I will not vote. I will not return to Kethran." Calder did not take the chip. "Where will you go?" "I don't know," Keth said. "For 287 years I knew where I would be, on the throne, in the chamber, measuring strength in noise. Today I am trying to learn a new measurement." He paused. "Your Lieutenant Vale is coming." He left the station. "He is flying to the gray margin. He carries a recording. He carries a chronometer. He is trying to learn too." Calder looked at the chronometer. "Tick, tick, tick. He is not my lieutenant," she said. "He is his own." She took the data chip. She did not look at it. She put it in her pocket beside the chronometer. "Learn this," she said. "The 89 vessels you saw were not the full fleet. There are others, deeper, older. The file says decommissioned. The file is still wrong. If the Ascendancy comes again, they will find exactly what we want them to find. Nothing, or everything. It will be our choice, not theirs." Keth's honor scars clicked once. A single sound, then silence. "You could destroy us," he said. "You have the ships, you have the silence, you could end the Ascendancy." "I could," Calder said, "but I won't, because destroying you would make me visible, and visibility is the only thing you understand. I would rather be what I have always been, silent, patient, waiting." She turned to leave. She stopped at the airlock door. She looked back. "Your throne is empty," she said. "Your chamber is silent. Your 1,600 ships are damaged or withdrawn. The conclave will vote. The Silan will speak. And you will be somewhere else, learning what one ship means when it does not broadcast." She stepped through the airlock. The door closed behind her. Keth stood in the docking bay, alone, holding nothing, looking at the plain walls of a station that had no conquered names, listening to the silence where a chronometer had ticked. Vale reached the gray margin 6 hours later. His shuttle was small, a single-seat craft with a failing power cell and a crystalline slate that had finally gone dark. He did not broadcast his approach. He did not file a flight plan. He flew toward the ice moon Varn, toward the hollow belt, toward the silence. He saw them before he saw Station Meridian 7, 89 vessels, black, angular, silent. They hung in space like holes in the dark, their null-skin plating absorbing every signature. No heat, no drive plume, no challenge codes. Vale's secondary eyelids fluttered. He did not suppress them. He held the chronometer in his hand. It was still silent. But now in the silence he heard something. Not gears, not water, not a heartbeat. A voice. "This is Station Meridian 7, it said. "Identify yourself." Vale pressed the transmit key. "This is Lieutenant Perrin Vale, former aide to War Master Vorak, former recorder of the throne chamber. I am coming to learn what silence means." The channel was quiet for 11 seconds. Then, "Docking Bay 4 is open. Welcome, Lieutenant." Vale looked at the chronometer. He turned it over. The name Varn stared back at him. He scratched something beneath it. Not Keth's words, his own, a single sentence. "The math is still changing." He docked, the airlock cycled, he stepped through. The corridor smelled of ozone and dried algae. The gravity was less than standard. The walls were plain metal. A woman stood at the end of the corridor. She was 51 years old. She had 29 years in the Void Fleet. Her right index finger was missing below the first knuckle. She held a wind-up chronometer in her hand. It ticked. "Admiral Calder," Vale said. "Lieutenant Vale," she said, "you recorded 2,101 degrees, you left your station, you flew towards silence. Why?" Vale held up the chronometer. "Because the arithmetic was wrong," he said, "and I wanted to learn what the right answer sounds like." Calder smiled, the fourth time in 11 years. "It sounds like this," she said. She held the chronometer to her ear. Tick, tick, tick. "Come," she said. "The conclave vote is in 42 hours. The Silen are speaking. The Drakkar are silent, and I have 12 words to write." She turned. Vale followed. They walked down the corridor, toward the bridge of the Resolute, toward the viewport that looked at the gray margin, toward the 89 vessels that waited in silence and the others that waited deeper still. The bridge of the Resolute was dark. Only the tactical display glowed, painting Calder's face in pale blue. The chronometer sat on the armrest. Tick, tick, tick. Merrick stood at his station, his jacket patched at the elbow. Vale stood beside him, the crystalline slate dark in his hand, the chronometer silent in his pocket. They did not speak. There was nothing to say. Calder sat at the command station. She opened a logbook, plain paper, no encryption, no security, just 12 lines waiting for 12 words. She wrote. She closed the logbook. "Admiral," Merrick said, "the conclave vote, the Silen have spoken. The gray margin is recognized as sovereign human territory. The ascendancy has withdrawn its opposition. Keth did not speak. He did not vote. He is gone." Calder nodded. She did not look at the logbook, she looked at the chronometer. Tick, tick, tick. "And the Drakkar?" she asked. "Reduced fleet presence in the outer rim. The file on the Hollow Fleet is reclassified from decommissioned to unknown. Nobody corrects it." "Good," Calder said. She stood, she walked to the viewport. The ice moon Varn turned slowly beyond the glass. The hollow belt hung in the shadow, 89 vessels dark and silent, and deeper, older, the others that had never been built, never been counted, never been seen. She held the chronometer to her ear, it was still ticking. She smiled, the 5th time in 11 years. "Let them write their 900 pages, she said. "I have 12 words, that is enough." She turned to Vale. "Lieutenant, you came to learn silence. Here is your first lesson. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of something they cannot hear." Vale's secondary eyelids fluttered. He did not suppress them. For the first time in 34 years, he did not want to suppress them. "And the second lesson?" he asked. Calder walked to the airlock. She stopped at the door. She looked back. The chronometer ticked in her hand. The logbook sat on the command station, closed, its 12 words facing up. "The second lesson," she said, "is that the file is always wrong. The question is whether you bother to check." She left the bridge, the door closed. Merrick stood at his station. Vale stood beside him. The tactical display glowed. The 89 vessels waited. The chronometer ticked. Vale walked to the command station. He opened the logbook. He read the 12 words. "They looked, we waited, they forgot, we did not." He closed the logbook. He set it down. He walked to the viewport. The ice moon Varn turned. The gray margin stretched beyond it, 3 light years of silence, of waiting, of ships that did not broadcast and files that did not tell the truth. He took the chronometer from his pocket. He held it to his ear, silent. But now in the silence he heard something. Not gears, not water, not a heartbeat, not a voice. A promise. 6 months later, the Drakkar ascendancy reduced its fleet presence in the outer rim. The file on the Hollow Fleet remained unknown. Nobody corrected it. The conclave met again. The Silen spoke. The humans did not attend. They were not invited. They did not need to be. On Station Meridian 7, Admiral Rin Calder sat on the bridge of the Resolute. The chronometer ticked on the armrest beside her. She did not look at it. She did not need to. It had been ticking for 47 years. it would tick for 47 more. She poured a half cup of water from the carafe. She did not drink it. She set it on the console. The water trembled, not from her hand, from something else. The fleet around her, 89 vessels and the others deeper still, adjusting position in perfect synchronization, their null-skin hulls sliding through the dark like sharks beneath black ice. She tapped her thigh, once, twice, 3 times. The chronometer ticked.